Okay, good evening. It is 6 o'clock, August 3rd, 2020. It is time to call the city council meeting to order. Ms. Rhodes, roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Austin?
Here.
Mr. Blankenship?
Here.
Mr. Hukin?
Here.
Ms. Jones? Here. Ms. McGinnis? Mr. Ryerson?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Brian Reese, will you lead us in prayer and pledge, please?
Will do. Our Father, we come to you tonight, and we thank you so much for our city. We thank you for the great Strawberries on the Square event we had this last week, and just the privilege it is to just get back to enjoying our community that we love, that we live and work in and play in. Lord, we thank you for that. We pray that you be with the swearing in tonight. We pray with that in mind that you be with our fire department, continue to watch over and protect them as they serve and protect and go into harm's way for our residents here. We just thank you for that. Pray that you be with the Mayor's Youth Council as they present tonight. I thank you for them and their involvement in the city and their growth as what it looks like to be involved in the local area and civil leadership, and just help them and watch over them as they do their work. Pray that you be with the rest of the things that are on the agenda tonight. Pray that you help the decisions to be made with wisdom and discernment. And may it be for your honor and glory. In your name we pray. Amen. Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
Okay. I said I'm glad everyone can make it tonight. And I see Mike has his family here. That is the first only with announcements, presentations, and public comment. Swearing in of the new fire department Lieutenant Mike Griggs, Fire Chief Matt Culp, and myself are going to do that. So Mike, if you come forward. So I'm not going to put my mask on. Bad example, all right? Our social distance. Had Bob move so he wouldn't get COVID from me. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Take that off the record. Okay, raise your right hand, sir. I, Mike Riggs, have been promoted to the position of lieutenant in the city of Franklin Fire Department. I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
I swear to support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
that I will obey the laws of the United States,
that I will obey the laws of the United States,
the State of Indiana,
the State of Indiana,
and the rules and regulations of the Franklin Fire Department,
and the rules and regulations of the Franklin Fire Department,
the policies, procedures, and practices
policies, procedures, and practices
of the City of the Franklin Employee Handbook,
of the City of Franklin Employee Handbook,
that I will obey all the lawful orders
that I will obey all the lawful orders
of my superior officers
of my superior officers,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of said office to the best of my ability.
of said office to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. While you guys are here, I want to tell you how much we appreciate during COVID, and it's still going on, and you guys put yourself out there every single day. We appreciate what you guys do, so thank you very much. So, I don't know if Tara's got a picture there, so try to spread out a little bit. Yeah. Hang on a second.
He doesn't want any photographic evidence.
Man, Facebook tears me up.
Make sure you smile.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Everybody has trouble with that.
Oh, that's good.
Again, thank you guys, I appreciate it. Okay, now, we say this every time too, if you guys want, you know what's coming. Okay, thank you guys. Next on the agenda for announcements, presentations, public comment, we have the Mayor's Youth Council presentation and updates of last year's project and information, what we're working on in the future. I know Jenna's here, and Jenna, if you want to step up, Jenna Newton, Abby Clemens, and Megan Tinnell, and Patrick Tisdale. Yeah, thank you guys.
Can everybody hear me? I'm a soft talker, and I'm going to keep the mask on. Good evening, everybody, council members. Thank you, first of all, for your leadership in general and the time tonight to introduce these young leaders to you. And just by way of background, I just wanted to get up here first and let you know my name is Patrick Tisdale. I am the co-founder and board president of the Creative Council of Franklin, and our mission is to encourage creative people to do the work they do, to educate the public about the values of that work, and then bring those people together in meaningful ways. To achieve this mission, the Creative Council has our own programming, but we also serve as an advisory board to the mayor and the city in general in regards to arts and culture, with the goal of eventually creating a cultural district that could be recognized by the state of Indiana. Over the past year, the Creative Council has developed an outline for approaching public art that is currently being used for 3 separate projects in the city. And I've handed you, council members, a copy of the outline that's been adjusted for this project, just to give you some insight into what goes into the process. You might note, and I pointed this out to the kids, the majority of the process is before any sort of art is created. So that brings me to this project that we want to introduce to you tonight, as well as all the other details that the mayor's asked for. The general outline for these projects is just 4 basic stages: the planning process, an input process, a selection process, and finally the execution and a public reception for the work. So despite all the hurdles that have been thrown at these young leaders this year, they continue to work this long arc of public art, of the process of public art, to execute this final portion of the project that they've taken on. So it's my honor to pass the mic at this time to these leaders so they can fill you in on the details of what they've been doing.
Thank you. Hi there, my name is Jenna Newton, and thank you, Patrick. So I am an incoming FCHS junior this year, and I'm also a member of the FMYLC, Franklin Mayor's Youth Leadership Council. So I've put up with Mayor Barnett for a whole year now. And additionally, I am our Rotary Youth Interact Club president at the high school. So both of these, if you're not familiar, are service organizations composed of FCHS students who decided basically both to collaborate this spring on a project to help, as Patrick said, grow the arts in Franklin here. So after meeting with the members of the Creative Council, Mayor Barnett, Kira, we decided that we wanted to paint 2 electrical boxes in downtown Franklin that have been picked out by Mayor Barnett himself. And so I'm going to introduce Megan and then Sydney Clements to just tell you specifically for each club the designs that we chose and kind of what the project has meant to us and what they resemble and embody for our city. As well as I have some pictures here of just some of the outlines and stuff, and I'm really proud to say that our council members with their creative skills have created these illustrations for you today.
Alrighty, thank you, Jenna. My name is Megan Tinnell. I just graduated from FCHS, which I guess makes me a former Mayor's Youth Council member.
4
Our-
years, 4 years, by the way.
Yeah, 4 years. Our box is located to the southwest side of Main and Madison Market Cafe over by the Art Craft and the Willard. Our design reflects Franklin's motto of live, work, and play for a lifetime. We wanted to reflect on the historical landmarks of Franklin and show the cycle from youth to adulthood, which demonstrates how many families have kept their family in Franklin for generations, and we hope they keep them here for generations to come. And Sydney will now speak about the Interact Club box.
And I said Abby, it was Sydney.
It's okay, you're good. Hi everyone, my name is Sydney Clements. I am going to be a senior at Franklin Community High School this year. I am a member of the Mayor's Youth Leadership Council. I'm also the Sergeant at Arms Communications Chair and Riley Chair for the Interact Club at the high school. So as Jenna said, we are sponsored by the Rotary Club in Franklin. We are the high school version of that. Our box that we are doing this year is on the corner of North Main Street, the northeast corner, and Jefferson Street, so right across from the courthouse. Our box basically wanted to represent unity, so our message be the change. We want to represent the unity of Franklin that has been shown in the past of working together, and that we want to remind people to work together in the future. And I think that's been especially proven with COVID of how well this community has come together during difficult times just to have a positive impact. So the hands and the gears working together represent the unity that we want to encourage in our community just to continue working on making Franklin a better place. And I'm going to pass it back over to Jenna for some final updates.
Alrighty, so both the Franklin Mayor's Youth Leadership Council and Interact Club are so grateful to be able to work with Patrick and the Creative Council and also the City of Franklin. It just means a lot to us to be able to have a voice here at the council and to feel heard, so thank you. And we'd also like to thank Tara B. Northcott, the Franklin Rotary Club, and the Creative Council again for their mentorship and support during our project. We'd also like to extend a special thanks to the Franklin Elks Club. They have been our financial sponsor for this project, and so we had a while back we had an induction ceremony with them, and we received a generous check from them. So we thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and are so excited to eventually present you with our finished project and hopefully have some kind of ceremony in the future whenever it's safe to execute that. So with that being said, that's kind of our project update, and just to wrap things up here, I want to give you a quick Franklin Mayor's Youth Leadership Council update on behalf of our council. It's truly a pleasure to be a part of the council. It's my favorite club and council to be in at the high school, and Mayor Barnett does an awesome job with us kids and Tara, so thank you. This year, Dylan Clark was our president, and I was just a council member, but our big project, we had two. We had obviously the art project, and then our other one was doing a lot of renovating over at the Active Adult Center, which you probably heard about. And so earlier, like first semester, we got to help them out, and that was really appreciated, and it was such a fun project to be able to do. And I actually went over there for Maddie's graduation party about a week ago, and we were just in awe of how good it looked. So thank you so much for supporting us to do that. I know they really appreciated it. And then obviously we have the art project coming up here soon, whenever we can do that. Another thing I was going to say is we're also currently looking for new officers, so we send out like speech requirements and stuff. Will McGinnis and myself are both running for president, and then Lillian Lacey is going to be our vice president. So you might see me or Will or all of our council members up here at city council meetings more next semester, because that's something that we're trying to encourage everyone to do, is to be here more. And I'm even talking to Mayor Barnett and Tara about getting us a seat up there because we want to feel extra heard on the council.
You want this one?
Yes, I'm gonna take it. Yeah, so I just think it'd be so unique to have that physical seat and representation of our voice on this council. So that's what I have for you now, and I look forward to being back with my colleagues later on in the year. So thank you so much.
So I just want to say real quick that it's also one of my favorite things is being the mayor, is being able to go to the Mayor's Youth Council and the Rotary Interact Club and be with you guys. You do a great job. Appreciate everything that the youth does. And Megan, we're going to miss you 4 years. You were one of the original ones when I become mayor. Really appreciate everything that you've done. So good job. Hats off to you.
never fail to attend pretty much every meeting we have. So that just tells you a lot about your dedication for our council. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that was a good presentation. Do we have any other announcements, presentations, or public comment? Yes, Marty?
Yeah, so on behalf of the Discover Downtown guys, I'd like to give you a big thank you for all your continued support back for our last event in Strawberries. Worked well, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, yeah, real quick, the Franklin Chamber, our next meeting will be a virtual meeting. We're having Dr. Clendenning give us kind of an update of the school. Anybody's invited to come. It's going to be on August 13th. Thank you.
Okay, anybody?
A Zoom meeting, right? It is a Zoom meeting, yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, hearing none, that gets us to consent agenda.
Mayor, move to approve the consent agenda as written. Second.
Second by Mr. Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Also move read old business by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Ms. Jones to read old business by title only. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none. Old business, item number one, the only one on old business. Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 20-09, an additional appropriation, local road and bridge matching grant fund capital $661,595.33. Clerk Treasurer Jane Rhodes.
Yes, this has been before you once. It is our community crossings matching grant. If you so approve tonight, then the money is appropriated and we can start some projects.
Okay, so is there any other questions for Ms. Rhodes? When it's it's on old business, and if you hear us not ask questions, don't think that we don't ask questions. We always do, but I think this, like you said, it's been on here. And
At least
yes. Okay. Yes,
Vote to
sir.
approve.
Second.
I'm going to give that second to Mr. Austin. So Mr. Hughes made a motion to approve. Mr. Austin second. Any other questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to new business.
Move to approve new business by title only. Second.
Second by Mr. Taylor. All those in favor of reading new business by title only?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Item number one, this is for introduction. Common Council Ordinance number 20-12, authorizing issuance of bonds for the purpose of providing funds to refinance the city's general obligation bonds of 2010 and incidental expenses in connection therewith and on the account of the insurance of bonds. Mr. Rick Hall of Barnes and Thornburg LLP.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm here this evening because there's an opportunity to refund outstanding bonds of the city to realize the savings. Back in 1997, we financed a police station and some court improvements. We refunded those bonds in 2010 when interest rates were between 4 and 4.5%. Now the interest rate environment is less than 2%, so there's an opportunity to refund those bonds and generate a savings. And Jeff Peters, your financial advisor, is here, and he can comment more on what the bond market currently is and how he would recommend going about selling refunding bonds. But the ordinance before you this evening would authorize the refunding of those 2010 bonds by the issuance of new bonds of the city. And those new bonds would have the same final maturity date as the outstanding 2010 bonds, which is January 1st, 2030. And it would authorize the bonds in an amount not to exceed $2.1 million, and then they could either be privately placed or sold through an underwriting. And the upshot is that there's material savings for the city over the remaining 9 years of the term of the bonds. So from a process standpoint, I'll turn it over here to Jeff to talk about the economics, but from a process standpoint, it's very simple. The council has to adopt this ordinance, and then we can sell bonds, and then we can come back and close. The ordinance is just for introduction this evening, like any new money bonds, the proceeds of these bonds have to be appropriated, so should you choose to move forward, there would be an additional appropriation hearing at your next council meeting, and then consideration on final reading of the ordinance. I'd be happy to answer any legal questions or just turn to Jeff on the economics.
Thanks, Rick.
Rick, you said this, I just want to clarify this to make sure. We're not going to extend the maturity then?
No, we're not. It's the same maturity date as the 2010 bonds. Yeah. But
Thank you all for the opportunity to be here. Like Rick said, the bonds that are outstanding now, their coupon rates are around the 4% amount. Market rates now being below 2, probably looking more around 1.5. Our goal is going to be to try and have savings for this time period of $200,000.
That's going to be one of my first questions, is what kind of number we're looking at.
So we've gotten a couple pre-underwriting proposals, and they're not actual proposals, but they're kind of market estimates as of the day that they were written. And one is a little bit above 200,000, the other two are a little bit under 200,000 after expenses. So this is after you pay all the issuance costs. One of the bad things about, paying off bonds in this manner is the only way to do it is to issue a whole new series of bonds. So just like the process that we went through with the sewer bonds, we potentially will have to go through that entire process again, which is prepare the documents, go to Standard & Poor's, get a market rating, take that out to the open market, sell it on the open market, and see what kind of savings actually are produced. But again, the goal is to hit that $200,000 mark. Alternatively, we can negotiate these and place them with a bank. We still use an underwriter, but they just place it with different banks. We wouldn't have to do the rating, we would have less in professional fees, but also those placements typically have a higher interest rate. So we've gotten one indicative rate that is not better than going out and doing the full underwriting. The underwriter that the city's going to use, either as the underwriter or the placement agent, he's getting additional indicative rates from banks who would want to purchase it outright. And we'll see if any of those come in where we could do a cheaper transaction but still get the same amount of savings for the city.
Sir, can you give us an estimate of what the cost is to rework them?
The cost to redo the bonds is about $100,000.
So we're going to spend
Including the underwriter.
a total of 100.
So the total savings would be $300 net, and then we present value it based on the yield rate of the bonds that we issue. And the goal is to get the net present value of today's dollars, $200,000 or above.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Bob, that's right up your pipeline, brother.
Refinance your mortgage.
Yep.
So, again, if we have one more meeting, if we choose to move forward, is that correct?
Yes.
that's right, you still have to have a public hearing on the appropriation of the proceeds of the refunding bond. So within this document is that appropriation language, so you cannot adopt it on final reading tonight. And you'd have to come back at your next meeting after a public hearing. That does not slow us up from a timetable perspective. All the things that Jeff mentioned with respect to trying to get the right form of sale of the bonds and the right rate would continue during this period.
And Rick and Jeff both, as they always do, had all this information weeks ago. And then also, they don't bring it to you until it's ready to go.
I know you already know the answer, and I think I know it too. Since we've been in it so long, there's really no penalty to take out the bondholders at this point.
Correct. Typically, when we issue bonds, we have to give a time period before they're callable. And this one was a 10-year call period, so they were refunded in 2010. So now it's been 10 years, we're right there at the threshold of it.
Good timing.
Yes, very good timing for a very low rate.
Well, I appreciate what you do for us, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good news.
Next, updates on the grant cycle, funds raised, volunteer opportunities, community partnerships, and upcoming events. Tony Reed, Franklin Education Connection.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to come in and share some updates with you guys. I think everybody can appreciate that this year's theme is adapting. So I have some updates to share, but some of the stuff that we're planning is kind of fluid. My first update is with regard to our two programs that rely on volunteers and mentors who come into the buildings, and that's our Steady Connection program and our First Scholars program. Some of you may remember, or I know I see familiar faces, so a lot of you have Steady Connection. It's our program that works with kiddos at the elementary and intermediate level. And that is in the buildings, but also a satellite situation as well. So historically, we have a partnership with the police department where students will get bused there, and then they'll work with them one-on-one, or our volunteers will go into the buildings for 1 hour a week after school and work with students one-on-one. Because of COVID, that program is just on hold. So we're just in a hold pattern with that. No outside visitors are going into the buildings right now. The nice thing about the First Scholars program is with those students being a little older and able to better meet virtually, our program developer, Brian Wagner, who's also on the school board, and then our program facilitator, Melissa Paramore, are working with the mentors in getting those students and mentors connected virtually and making sure they're checking in with them once a month and just seeing if there's anything they need. So we feel fortunate that they're able to kind of keep along going. But just because Steady Connection is postponed for now and First Scholars is in a little bit of a similar holding pattern, the need for volunteers is still very present. So we know that once these programs are able to kind of be reinstated and we're able to get our volunteers back in the buildings, that we'll have an even greater need. So my ask tonight is just if you know anybody or if you yourself has a heart for working with kids. I know some people prefer the older kids, some people prefer the young kids. Both of those applications can be found on our website, and both of those programs would not work without the people who volunteer with these students. So just something to keep in the back of your mind if you're ever thinking of anybody, or you ever have anybody who says they want to become more involved with students in Franklin. So that is the update on Steady Connection and First Scholars. I know that the joint project that we were working on with Mayor, with Tara, and then also the school corporation was the Fuji Japan trip to the sister city. That trip has been postponed. There was a cohort of students that was going to go along on that trip. The last update that I received is that the school corporation will work with us on scheduling the trip for the students just when it becomes safe. So that's another one of those fluid type of situations. With regard to community partnerships, we had earlier this year $10,000 that was given to us by Anderson Hauser. They've been a great partner for many years. That funding is going to be applied to STEM programming and robotics programming across Franklin schools. Likewise, we have an excellent partnership with the Brannigan Foundation. This year they gave us funds to implement programming that was STEM and robotics with a partnership through Sylvan. But again, because things shut down a little bit early, some of those clubs weren't able to get off the ground. So we were able to reallocate some of those funds to seniors at Franklin High School for a free SAT prep course through Sylvan, which was valued at about $800 value, and I think $85 was what the books cost, but otherwise it was free to the students. And any student could participate. So we were really grateful that we had the opportunity to readjust and create that opportunity for our Franklin seniors. Another partnership is Johnson County REMC. They had their Roundup grant cycle and offered funding for a water bottle fill station to be placed at the high school at the Performing Arts entrance, hello. And I remember the Mayor's Youth Council years prior had a project, and they were short 1 or 2 fill stations, so it was a neat way to facilitate that need. And that entrance typically sees a lot of foot traffic with outside visitors, so it's exciting because not only staff and faculty benefit, but also eventually visitors and people from outside of Franklin. So we were grateful to them for those funds. And then lastly, we were able to, in February, we were honored to be featured as the tip jar campaign of Maine and Madison. So they do this really amazing thing for local organizations where they'll feature an organization for a month, and all of their tips are then donated to that organization. With the shutdown, we found out mid-June that campaign actually brought in for us $5,300, maybe a little over. So it's just fantastic news for us, and we feel very fortunate to be a part of a community that has businesses that believe in organizations enough to do that for us. So that was a really great surprise for us. Our education foundation is continuing on. We know that our teachers still have needs, maybe now more than ever, maybe for things they don't even know they needed until now. So our education foundation committee will meet in the next week and a half, and we'll outline what our next grant cycle will look like. Typically, we do 1 cycle a year. We open it in September, we close it around fall break, and that allows us to fund the grants fully before the end of the calendar year for the teachers. We still want to be there for the teachers for their needs, so we'll probably follow right along with that same format for them. Up to now, we've funded a little over $125,000 for Franklin teachers in the form of teacher grants, and those programs are anything from alternative seating, curriculum enhancements. The fun one this year was the e-gaming club or e-sports club. I'm sure my 13-year-old would tell me I'm saying it wrong, but wherever they get these e-gaming clubs together. So just really cool opportunities to be able to help these teachers out. And then with that comes our fundraising efforts, and that's been a huge way we've had to adapt this year. We typically always have out at the barn at Crystal Spring Farm our barn dance. This year it's supposed to happen Friday, October 2nd. Again, we feel very fortunate. The barn at Crystal Spring Farm is beautiful, but also allows for outdoor space. So our hope is that we can still gather and celebrate in a way that's safe and raise funds to support teachers however best we can. Lastly, we have local partnerships with doing fundraising, and I have to give a shout out to Mike Baker at Chill Creek. We were having a pretty good turnout with our trivia nights, and then that kind of just stopped. And the trivia nights is just a fun way for teachers to get teams together and play, or the general public. And he worked to get us out there in that pavilion space, with space that people could gather and kind of feel like people were really kind of looking for something to get back out and do together in a way that felt safe. So we were very grateful to him. And then fundraising is going to look a little bit different as far as like virtual. Last year we did some fundraisers in the buildings where we had Spirit Weeks and kids brought in funds through the schools. There's already enough that's going on through the schools that they have to deal with, so we're probably just going to modify that to a virtual fundraising effort that includes like maybe a bike walk run. We've noticed a lot of people with this pandemic are becoming more outdoor, wanting to walk more, wanting to bike more. I guess you can maybe find a little silver lining there. So we're going to try to shift that focus a little bit to be more a virtual event. But we're very grateful to the schools for allowing us to run those campaigns through the school corporation, and there are teachers who support us. We have the community partners, the City of Franklin, we have the City of Franklin Police Department. Basically all of the partnerships that we have kind of facilitate all our different various programs, and so we're just very grateful. So that's all I have for my updates. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thanks for all you do, Tori. I'm both great work.
Thanks.
As a husband and my wife's a teacher, so I see a lot of good things coming from gas.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Yes.
Just so everybody knows, we're getting ready to do our budgets, which next meeting we're introducing our budget. We do have a line item with Franklin Education Connection. It's $1,000, and then other times in our budget promotion, there's a promotional budget at certain times at the school. If they need a little help, we try to get to that. So thank you for what you do, and the council is part of that approving that budget, so thank you guys. Okay, we'll move on to next on the agenda. Request approval of joint resolution of the Board of Works and Common Council approving interlocal agreement between the town of Edinburgh and the city of Franklin concerning sale of personal property, fire truck, Chief Matt Culp and City Attorney Glenn Gray. And I also want to add that J.T. Padone, the town manager of Edinburgh, is here. So nice to see you, J.T.
Thank you. Chief, I'll outline legal, and then you can talk about the substantive, they probably really want to know. As you all know, the Board of Works is responsible for managing and overseeing the personal property of the city of Franklin and the real property of the city of Franklin. Personal property includes all of our equipments and our fire trucks. Chief and Mayor came to me about a month ago and indicated that they had been in talks with the town of Edinburgh. Edinburgh is in need of a ladder truck, and we have one that we don't use very often, and wanted to know what was the appropriate thing to do in order for us to be able to sell that truck. If we were going to sell it on the open market, it would require us to do requests for proposals and public bidding, etc. But the law permits agreements amongst governmental entities to be done through an interlocal agreement without the need to go out onto the public market. There's a reason for that. Generally, it's a win-win for both of the local units of government. In doing that, I asked Chief if he wouldn't mind putting together some numbers so that you would know about what we were agreeing to, and that was in the ballpark of what was going to occur. And then the process is to enter into an interlocal agreement with the town of Edinburgh, which JT and Dustin Huddleston were working with me. It's already been approved by the town. It would then come to the Board of Works to authorize the sale, and then go to you to approve the receipt of the sale price of $125,000, which is proposed. So that's the legal process. If in fact you were to, the Board of Works tonight, approve the resolution to authorize the sale, if you approve this resolution as well, then I believe the town of Edinburgh is ready to deposit that. We told them we'd take a check. We weren't worried about that it wouldn't bounce. We told them they would deposit a check tomorrow, bring it up here and deliver it to Jane Rhodes' office. And so this last step is yours.
And actually, JT, I believe you're going to write a personal check tonight, right? So, I'm just saying, I have, me and JT's had several meetings, obviously, since he's the town manager, and as well as their fire chief, Mike Hare, who used to work here, and actually was the fire chief that bought the vehicle that we are wanting to sell to Mike Hare, the fire chief from Edinburgh now. So, a little twist of fate. So, when we started discussing several months ago with the mayor about looking at what we really do and what type of apparatus we really need, equipment and manpower on each and every type and specific run. So one of the things that we looked about was the number of apparatus we have. So just real quick, we have 3 stations and we have 5 pieces of fire apparatus, okay? We only staff 11 people per day, so it's 3 on 2 of the engines and a 4th guy on a 3rd engine, so that's 10, and then a battalion chief that rides in an SUV. So we don't have enough people to staff all 5 vehicles, and really we only staff 3, 1 for staff piece of apparatus out of each station. And then when we sell this, if you decide to do that, we will still have a backup piece of apparatus that if something breaks down or when we do preventative maintenance, that will be the truck that we then go into, okay? So just a little information for you. I passed out, and for the 3 of you that were here for the Board of Works meeting, I'm sorry, you're going to do the same thing. I passed out an article during the changeover, and it just talks about changes coming to the fire service. This is an article from last month from Fire Rescue Magazine, which is one of the 2 big magazines in the fire service. It says that on the 2nd page, the fire service is rapidly changing and becoming more of a healthcare and social work agency, and that whether we like it or not, a lot of firemen don't like to actually admit to that. And then on the 3rd page, it talks about financial changes, and it states that leaders are making realistic outcome-based strategic investments rather than simply lobbying for increased funding solely based on history, tradition, and emotional factors. So based off of that information, that is why we're here tonight, okay? So just a general rundown for the fire department. I ran these numbers this morning right after our department head meeting. As of this calendar year, 75% of our run load is emergency medical services. 8% of our run load is lift assist. That's where we go to someone's house, we're not hurt, and we just help get somebody off the floor or off the bathroom and into the couch or bed or whatever they'd like. 6% on false fire alarms, where a building's fire alarm system goes off and there's nothing there. 6% is on motor vehicle accidents. 3% on gas spills or gas line cuts, if they're digging up, something like that. 1.5% on trash fires, illegal fires, or dumpster fires, and car fires. And then 0.5% on actual building fires. And that 0.5% actually breaks down into 4 fires that we've had this year, 2 inside the city, and then 2 on mutual aid calls. So as you can see, we do a lot more emergency medical and socialized medicine than we do actual firefighting, okay? So Aerial 23, which is the device that we want to sell, is a 95-foot ladder platform. And in 2020, it has gone on 8 runs this year. All 8 of those runs were emergency medical runs, and the only time they went on a run is when one of our other vehicles were down, and so it just filled in as a backup vehicle, even though we had another backup vehicle available, okay? So just a little history of it. As of this morning, the mileage on it was 30,158 miles. We bought it in 2004 with roughly 7,000 miles as it was a demo on it. It has 4,643.5 hours of use in the whole time that we've had it. And just to compare it to our other fleet, Engine 22 has 80,357 miles, and we bought that brand new in 2010. Quick 23, which is a 25-foot ladder truck that we use, has 98,812 miles. And then our newest vehicle, which is Engine 21, which we bought in 2016 new also, has 21,592 miles. So as you can see, we don't use it very often compared to everything else. It costs about $4,000 to $5,000 to certify the ladder, the pump, maintain the engine every year, just the annual certifications that we require as a city. They don't are all technically required, but it is just how we do. Right now we have spent $2,000 on repair for this year. And last year, because we put on I think 8 new tires, it's $13,960 we spent in repairs last year. Okay, so some questions that the mayor had. We're not going to have any change in our ISO rating. Our ISO rating are what insurance companies use because they deal with staff vehicles. I told you I don't staff it, so it doesn't really count towards anything like that. However, JT will be able to staff it. They will use it to run on, like, if they get an alarm at the mall, some of their downtown buildings, I don't know the name of the street, but they've got some factories, like, in between the downtown and the mall. He can tell you the street. And the other good thing is I don't think a day goes by that either Edinburgh is not sending something for us as a mutual aid device, or us sending something down to Edinburgh. So we have a really great partnership. We did numerous trainings together. Matter of fact, we just had a countywide training Saturday with everyone involved. So that will actually be on our initial run streams for like the hotels out on the interstate, and they will get there faster than if I try to call people back in. If you don't know, we're at 48 people within the fire department. Only 7 of us live inside the city, so calling people back in is not real effective for us. So we will actually get more use out of it by it being down in Edinburgh than in our own location, besides using Barboursville, Greenwood for Greenwood and White Rivers aerial devices. We are the only entity in Johnson, Shelby, Morgan, and Bartholomew County that owns 2 aerial devices at the same time. So in your packet, she said, from the 2 largest resellers of fire apparatus in the U.S., I sent you their stock and what they were asking for. I also sent you where we are going to also give a 2006 Ford Expedition to Edinburgh as part of this. Tommy Thompson from Fletcher Chrysler. Its resale value or trade-in value is in there for you also.
Talk about sprinkling and or big buildings and do that.
What'd you say? Okay, so the fires. So sprinklers, so most of the buildings we have now are new ones are sprinkled. They have different building codes than the old ones. Building construction is a lot safer. They're all sprinkled at hotels. 96% of all fires in the U.S. with sprinkler systems are controlled by 5 sprinkler heads or less.
The actual reason to have sprinklers is not to put a fire out, is to contain it until the fire department gets there. So we're not really worried about fires in the hotels, plus the 75-foot ladder will breach everything on the hotels. We've had numerous trainings where guys have gone out to make sure of that. If this sale does go through, obviously it'll go back to the general fund. We will then come back and with Mr. Jones, we are going to look at buying a new Dodge truck to run as a squad. The squad is the EMS vehicle that we've been running out of Station 21 when we're available. It has covered 37% of all EMS calls. So that vehicle is going to cost about $50,000 all with lights and everything. Whereas if you want to buy a new vehicle, like the one we're selling, it's about $1.2 million and about $150,000 to outfit it. So it just makes a lot more sense for us to sell a vehicle that we're not using to an entity that we can use, and that is a local entity, and that we will actually be mutual aid with and still get the benefit of the truck, and vice versa, we will benefit them, and also run cheaper apparatus with less wear and tear on other calls.
So while Matt's here, there's always a lot of questions about the fire department. I think you've done a good job explaining the reason that we're looking to do this. But if you have any questions for Matt, please feel free.
Yeah, I like that leaner fire department with the vehicles. I've been talking about that for a long time, guys. And it's nice to see some of the newer vehicles coming in that is kind of fits our, or fits your niche need. So I think we're just leaner and smarter, and Edinburgh being right down the street, and I know you guys are always working with each other, and so it's going to go, but it ain't going to go far, and if we need it, it's right there. So I'm in favor.
Anybody else?
Yes, sir.
You're really getting the buy-in of manpower. There's 4,000 people living on the east side. They'd be glad to buy on that fire truck.
We were just having discussions. So our firemen to be ISO certified and EMS certified, they have to do about 480 hours in training a year. So it's roughly 4 hours every day that they work. I have to provide them some sort of training. So I would gladly let you come over and train and then put you on a fire truck.
I don't have to do any push-ups or pull-ups.
Okay, I know it's not required, but is there anyone from the public who'd like to ask Chief a question? So now we'll open it up for public hearing. Hearing none, I'm closing the public hearing. Okay, anybody else? I guess we're ready to take action. I would.
I'll move for approval of the ordinance
Resolution, sir. And authorize the mayor to sign the interlocal agreement, sir?
Yes.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and Lisa on the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none. There you go, JT. Thank you. Hopefully I don't have to bring it up here to help us out.
Thank you. No, I just want to extend our sincerest gratitude. Thank you to the council. Thank you for the Public Works. And I know working with Chief Colt, Mayor Barnett through this process. On behalf of the town, especially thank you to Ryan Piercefield, one of your own firefighters, one of our town council members, for all his work and effort. Attorneys doing their part. This is great. It's great to see this happen. We restructured the fire department for 2020. That first piece was getting Chief Mike Aaron, and as we restructured that department, this is another piece of that puzzle to provide better, more enhanced service for the community. So thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is for introductions only. Common Council ordinance number 20-09, an ordinance approving a resolution of the City of Franklin Planning Commission and annexing certain property contiguous to Franklin corporate limits to be known as GPI Holding Annex Agent, Senior Planner Joanne Myers.
Good evening. Mike Sheik with GDI Holdings is here also. Should there be any questions?
This is the introduction of an annexation of approximately 10 acres. The property is located at the southeast corner of 89 Forest Road. GDI Holdings currently owns the property at the southeast corner of State Road 44 and Forest Road. It's approximately 60 acres in size. They went through the technical review process on site development plan review for a approximately 925,000 square foot warehouse facility that is pending approval, which is also coinciding with this. These 10 acres are actually located at that southeast corner and go to Amity Ditch. The reason that they are needing this 10 acres is because the sanitary sewer interceptor that's supposed to be running down Amity is actually going to be providing them sewer, so they need to get to that property in order to tie into the sanitary sewer. They also need that property in order to get the outlet of their drainage to that ditch. This has went before Plan Commission June 16th and has been forwarded with a favorable recommendation by unanimous vote of 8-0. And we are requesting that you set this for public hearing August 17th.
And just to tie this in with what we've been talking about for, I think, they're up at February for at our state and city address, when we can still all get together and chamber event. I think we're still looking at $1 square foot building. I'm still on track with that. Is that close to where we're at?
This one is about 925,000 square foot.
Okay, 925,000. Pretty excited about that. We've been talking about it for many months, and I'm glad to see you guys are moving forward. And looking forward to having you here in next spring, maybe.
Probably.
Thank you. Any questions for Joanna? Like I said, it's for introduction only.
And to set for public hearing on August 17th, please.
Okay, so we do need to set the public hearing on August 17th, so we'll need a motion.
Correct.
Motion to approve,
Motion to authorize setting public hearing.
set public hearing, August
17th.
Thank you, that's what I heard.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Taylor for public hearing August 17th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you for that one, Joanna. This next one is related to that. It's also introduction only. Common Council Ordinance number 20-10, ordinance approving resolution 20-17, the City of Franklin Plan Commission rezoning certain property to be industrial light, to be known as GD Holding rezoning. Senior Planner Joanna Myers.
This is a companion piece with that annexation. The current property is zoned industrial light. This property is currently zoned agriculture. The request is to rezone that to industrial light. This was also heard by Plan Commission June 16th and forwarded with a favorable recommendation. It does include one commitment stating that the subject property and Lot 1 of I-65 South Logistics Center shall be combined into a single lot. This will require primary plat and secondary plat and construction plan approval from the City of Franklin, and the rezoning shall not take effect until the secondary plat is recorded. A little bit of background regarding that commitment, because it is not the standard, is currently this 10 acres is in the City of Franklin buffer zone, which puts it in our zoning jurisdiction. However, it is in Johnson County's subdivision control ordinance jurisdiction. So technically, at this moment in time, in order to be divided, it has to meet the county's subdivision control ordinance requirements. Once it becomes annexed, it then also has to meet our requirements of subdividing. In communications with the county, we do have a similar language in our ordinance that says an exempt subdivision can be created of transferring property between adjoining landowners as long as an additional building lot is not created. Therefore, that's why the commitment is that it has to be replatted in order to be included in the 60 acres, which would take it up to a little bit over 70. So that's why that commitment is in there.
I'm glad you know all that stuff.
And we actually like it.
Yeah.
That's something wrong with that.
It's kind of like a little puzzle you put
It
together.
is.
So that's for introduction only and will be set for public hearing on August 17th.
So you can ask questions tonight or go home and think about for 2 weeks some questions you can have.
I'll even let you ask it both tonight and December.
I'm trying to be funny tonight. Nobody laughs.
Mayor, if I might, just for the council's, and follow up to one of the things that you said to me, it seems like we have an annexation on the council agenda all the time. And I want to give kudos to the council and the board of works, because I also serve, the attorney for the planning commission. We took a different path in terms of what we were doing. You may recall about 10 years, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, there were land grabs with other municipalities. Some of them north of Indianapolis, Fishers and Carmel, and a lot of problems, Bargersville and Greenwood. And it resulted in there being a lot of legislation changed to try to stop certain kinds of annexation. We took a different approach, you all took a different approach, and that's been your philosophy since then, that we don't do hostile annexations. In other words, we don't go out and grab the property, we try to do things internally with master plans, comp plans, improvements to the infrastructure, and that has resulted in a tremendous amount of voluntary annexations that that philosophy really, I think, paid off because people now come to us and want to come in. So I think that's a credit to you all, this unsolicited kudos, but it really has made a huge difference in how we have developed versus some of the other jurisdictions that have started.
And to piggyback on that a little bit, the buffer zone has been beneficial in that also, because when companies do go out to look at land, they already know what the city of Franklin is anticipating for the development, because we already have our comprehensive plan that includes that area, and a lot of it is already zoned appropriately, so it does help in that aspect also.
And you guys fund those comprehensive plans, and I imagine that if I were sitting in your shoes, you might wonder why, because they're not cheap, but this is why, because this is the result of those kinds of approaches to things.
And I just want to add one other thing. In the last 3.5 years, we've annexed right at 1,000 acres close to it. So that's pretty remarkable, and that's all been voluntary.
Every bit of it has been voluntary. They came to us and wanted to be part of it.
So I'm kind of proud of that fact.
And there's more to come. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Next, common council ordinance number 20-11, ordinance repealing ordinance number 97-36, creating an insurance trust fund. City Attorney Lynn Gray.
Thank you, sir. This is brought to you courtesy of your clerk treasurer. She approached me a couple of weeks ago, and Jean, I'll turn it over to you. As I understand it, years ago, back in 1997, the then clerk treasurer, that was a period of time where, and correct me, Jane, if I'm wrong, that there was a period of time where the city was going to self-insured insurance plans, retentions, concerns about whether or not we would have money for covering of claims and things of that nature. The clerk treasurer at that time wanted to make sure that we planned for such an event and created and established an actual trust fund account, which is established pursuant to 9736. Your current clerk treasurer indicated that that money sits there. We haven't needed it. We're fully funded in other ways now that we've operated for 13 some years, been able to operate our insurance plan, and felt that the money would be better appropriated someplace else, Jane. So did I accurately convey that?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's just no need to have this money sitting in that account. And we would then take it from this, because this has a restriction. You can't use it for anything other than insurance claims. We've not used it in 13 years. So in the event you wanted to use, doesn't even have to, but it would then go back to the general fund. Is that correct, ma'am?
Right. And this is introduction.
It is introduction only.
Okay, any questions for Lynn or Jane on that? It's introduction only, so we'll see that one in 2 weeks. That will be kind of a busy meeting, but August the 17th is whenever we do introduce our budget for 2021. So with that being said, I don't see any other business unless somebody has something that I don't know about. If there isn't any, we'll go to council comments. How about we'll start, Kenny, we always start with you, so let's go with Sean tonight, okay, if that's all right.
Nothing tonight, Mayor, glad to be back, had a great vacation out west, so glad to be back.
Well, we're thrilled to have you.
Is that my comment?
There you go.
Okay, Dan Blankenship, that's your comment. Ms. Jones, Lisa?
I just want to thank the Mayor's Youth Council for their participation with the creative arts. Love the designs that you're doing and look super forward to seeing the end results. Thanks for everything you're doing.
Yeah, I want to piggyback, I told you the 28th actually is, you know, the fall festival is actually the 26th, just so you know that.
Okay.
So, thank you. Okay, Mr. Cuban?
Thank Chief Cochran, thanks for getting that information out about the cameras, and that was helpful. So thank you for putting the time in on that, and not just doing the time, but, you know, it's good information, it helps, thanks. That's all I got.
Okay. How about Chris Rynerson?
I've got nothing tonight, Mayor.
Mr. Austin?
I don't have anything right now, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, and I will say that I talked with Ann McGinnis before she left on vacation, and Will Guinness, who's on the Mayor's Youth Council, also wanted me to say he wished he could be here, so just so you guys know. So other than that, I think that's all we got. Jane Rhodes, Ms. Rhodes, do you have anything?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ray?
I'm talking up. No, thank you, sir.
Tara? Okay, I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
So let's do it, Chairman.
Kenny said so moved, anybody second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Didn't hear any, thank you guys.